poor, unlucky guy had fallen deep down a tunnel. He could not go ahead and had no means to head back. Then out of nowhere, a deep, monstrous growl emitted from the darkness around him. He turned in horror. Now there was a vast army of bugs coming towards him. He quietly murmured, "These last few days with freaking bugs and everything else has been worse than hell." One day before, earthquake, powerful earthquake, rocked the city. Jason fell through a huge crack that opened up on the road. When he came to, he thought it was only a natural disaster, but he had no idea that humanity was itself about to face extinction. Lying at the bottom of the crack, he shouted for help while gazing up to the devastated world above. His mouth was dry even though no voice replied to him. He had landed with his left arm pinned beneath a heavy rock. He couldn't even move it. In his desperation, he pulled out his phone. His wife's number wouldn't go through, and all the emergency numbers were ringing endlessly. Jason gritted his teeth. He had to polish his wit. Something must have happened outside that was truly terrible. He looked around, seeing what appeared to be a tunnel that led to absolute darkness. He didn't know how it appeared, but right now, it was the only exit. He was about to pull his phone out again to leave a message for his wife, until he saw a helicopter floating by overhead. For an instant, there was a flicker of hope. Then it flew away, and boom! A terrible blast shook the earth again. Realizing he couldn't stay, Jason thought that staying meant dying. Using all his strength, he threw the rock off his arm and pulled himself across the ground. Behind him, the ground gave way and sealed off his escape. Before he could take a breath, he felt a sharp point jab in his stomach. Glass. Wincing, he pulled the shard out and turned back in the direction of the darkened tunnel. No turning back. He went deeper. The walls were jagged, rough, too rough for human hands. There were old dark stains on the stone, dried. Blood. Jason's heart dropped with fear. But then he saw a bag, and inside were a few bank cards and a camera with night vision. He planned to proceed cautiously, but before he could move, there was a human form ahead. After days of isolation, seeing another survivor revive hope, Jason moved forward, reassuring the form that he was not there to hurt it. The woman trembled in fear and had hurt her foot. He wrapped her foot. She whispered her name, Sarah. But Sarah was terrified, horrified by this place. Jason couldn't understand why. "It was just an earthquake, right?" he asked. A shaky, bitter laugh escaped her throat, but terror was still writing itself in her eyes. "This cave isn't man-made," she said softly. "And that earthquake? A little while earlier, things beneath the city were digging, hollowing out the ground." Jason dismissed it. Priority was survival, and finding a way out mattered more than ghost stories. Just then, some strange sound echoed through the dark. Sarah immediately extinguished her lighter and motioned for silence. Jason ignored her warning, raised the night vision camera. He heard it, a low, heavy hiss, but nothing to see. When he turned back, Sarah was gone. He found her again later, but she would not speak at first, shaken to the core. Before he could ask more, that same monstrous growl rumbled behind them. Sarah ran quickly. Jason followed her. They didn't stop running until they couldn't hear the sound anymore. Jason recovered quickly and raised the video camera. This time he saw it. Something was crawling. They took a couple of steps back in silence, hoping not to be noticed. Clang! A metal rod fell out of Jason's backpack. They paused, hearts racing. Nothing happened. They sighed. Sarah collapsed, exhausted, shaking. She bit her lip, finally revealed the truth. During the quake, she had watched a terrible creature drag her sister away. She never saw her again. Jason said nothing. Fear was also in his veins. They kept walking. The tunnel contracted until they were having to crawl on their stomachs with little air. The silence was deafening and the darkness suffocating. The only thing that kept them alive was the hope to get out. Suddenly, light. Sarah gasped in rejoicing. They moved towards it, but it was not daylight. It was simply a flashlight, left on the ground. Sarah fell apart. Jason calmed her. "Don't lose hope. The exit may not be far away." They moved toward the light. A man was there, wedged under some stones, dead. Jason rifled through his things, an empty bottle of whiskey. He disinfected his wounds and moved on. Then, the body moved. They recoiled and hid, terrified. Out it came. It was a creature. It slashed the dead man, tearing flesh and eating, then took off, dragging the man into the black. They waited in place, silent, bated breath. Sarah's wounds were getting worse. With every movement, she felt each pain grow worse. Suddenly, sound behind them. Heart froze. Only a rat. They finally breathed, shripped. A claw immediately spiked the rat. Jason and Sarah screamed, lunging ahead. It was chaos. Jason was taken. "Shoot it, Sarah! Shoot!" But she was frozen with fear. Silence. Minutes later, Jason crawled back out and bloodied. Shaken, he had killed the beast with a knife. Sarah burst into tears of relief. She offered him the last dregs of water, then wobbled off to find more, only to find a busted pipe dripping, red, rotten tar. They pushed onward until the tunnel was completely dead-ended. No way back, no way out. In anger, Sarah kicked the rubble. It budged, a tiny opening. They cleared it, crawled through, and ended up in an enormous sewer-like cavern. Bodies, everywhere. Jason looked past them. Above them, light was streaming through a metal grate, so close to freedom. He lifted Sarah onto his back, pushing up, but the grate wouldn't budge. They needed tools. Then, gunfire. Soldiers were above. "Help! We're down here!" they shouted. The soldiers gestured. "We're getting you out of here." Relief washed over them. Then, screams. A tremendous monster slaughtered the soldiers in seconds. It lunged downward. Jason and Sarah rushed into a confined duct, crawling as far as they could until they reached a dead end with only a filthy pool ahead. He did not hesitate. He dove in. Underwater, he could feel clumsily, and then he found the secret passage. They were out, alive. But Sarah was fading. Her injuries had depleted her completely. They crawled on. A glimpse of light. Sarah urged on. "Exit!" Jason smiled. Home, wife, children. Finally. Then, the ground jostled. Dust rained down. He looked back at Sarah. She was motionless, eyes open. It was empty. She was gone. Jason froze. Minutes went by in a stunned silence. Then it hit him. Her body was blocking the only way out. He could not move her, could not climb over her. Behind him, they were approaching. He pulled her gun from the waistband of her pants. "If it's my time to die, if I am going to die, I will die fighting." Took out his cell phone, started playing a video from his family, his wife and kids, laughing, having fun. It eased his heart. Then a notification, a voice message from his wife. She was alive. "I am hiding. I am in the basement." Though he was shaking, Jason set his cell phone to alarm after a 10-minute delay and stuffed it in Sarah's pocket, and he moved into the other room. The entities exploded through the door. They grabbed her body. They took her. The exit was clear. Jason crawled backwards quickly, but close to their nest he slipped. The sound echoed. They could hear him. They grabbed his legs. He yanked out the alcohol, poured it. A ball of fire erupted. The monsters screamed and scattered as the fire devoured them. Jason ran. He broke out into daylight. The cold wind blew across his face. He was still alive. But when he looked around, silence. Empty streets, walls stained red with blood, creatures roaming the streets. His grin was fading. There was nowhere left to run.